If you're prepping a Shakespeare monologue and you have that niggling feeling that you might be missing something, well, I'm sorry to say you probably are. Most actors are focusing on the wrong things. I can tell you this as a Shakespeare coach, but the good news is it's very easy to tweak what you're doing and really nail your audition. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 essential elements you need to cover in your prep to make sure you are nailing the whole thing. Chef's kiss, you're going to get that role. You're going to get into school. We got this. Come along for the ride. Okay, so here's the thing. A Shakespeare monologue is not the same as a contemporary monologue. We are working with heightened text, and heightened just means it goes beyond the everyday. There's something about it that you know is not quite real life, and because of that, we need to prep differently. We actually need completely different goals. We need to think differently about what makes a good monologue than we do with our contemporary material. And this doesn't matter whether you're auditioning for drama school or theatre productions, we have to think differently. So when you're working on a contemporary monologue or any kind of contemporary material really, when we're thinking about what makes it good, we're really assessing that believability element, right? The truthfulness, did you connect to the character? Do we believe what you're saying? Are you present? That kind of truthfulness stuff is what we're assessing. When it comes to Shakespeare, because of that heightened stuff, we actually are assessing different things. Because with that heightened text comes this archaic language, right? Old-fashioned language that's actually almost a hurdle that we have to get over in order to be believable and connected. And we've also got these poetic elements that we have to embrace. It's not a hurdle. It's something that we have to really incorporate and love it if we can, really make the most of it. And when you're able to do those things, those are the people that stand out. Now, most actors are not even looking at that at all. Just follow me in this video and you'll already be way ahead of most people. So here are the 3 essential elements that we need to balance. We have to have them all in balance to nail a Shakespeare monologue or any Shakespeare, a scene, a whole production. We need to nail it. 3 things. Number 1, meaning. Number 2, poetry. Number 3, truthfulness. So meaning is the sense. Are we clear on what's happening? Do we know what we're saying? And not just for ourselves, but are we making it clear to the audience? When you're working on a contemporary piece, you can pretty much guarantee that the audience gets what's going on most of the time. But with Shakespeare, you can't guarantee that at all. Sometimes the audience is massively confused unless you really think critically and strategically about how you're going to tell the story. You have to be a really excellent storyteller. Poetry. Shakespeare's language is poetic, and so many actors are just ignoring it or squashing the poetry because they're so focused on making it sound believable or natural because they think that's the goal. Now, I've got a whole other video on this if you need more help in this area, but let's just think about you actually want to embrace the poetry like I was talking about before. It's more about looking at what's there in the text and bringing it to life. Now, every single Shakespeare monologue or scene is going to be different in terms of what you're bringing to life. So you need a few different exercises or some skills in that area to go, what is here? What is my job here? What am I supposed to be bringing to life? I'm going to do more videos on all of these things to help break down different exercises you can do. So please don't panic. I've got your back. And finally, we've got that truthfulness. We need to ground down, still make it believable. So some actors are missing that because they love the poetry so much that they kind of get lost in it, or they're getting stuck in their heads because it feels like so much is going on that they lose touch with their bodies. They're not thinking about the character anymore. They're not able to be present and believable like you would be with your contemporary. And that's why I say it's a balance, right? We've got all of these things in motion at once, and it is a challenge. So each of these elements can take a bit of time to prep. It actually takes longer to prep a Shakespeare monologue than it does to prep a contemporary monologue. So you need to give yourself enough time and you need to be a little bit strategic. But again, I don't want you to panic. You're probably doing more than you realize already. So what I want you to do in this video is to use this as a bit of a diagnostic. So when I'm working with my private students and my studio members, what I encourage them to do is think about, well, where am I already quite strong? Where are the areas that I already do quite a lot? You might already be doing a lot in that truthfulness area, and all you need is a couple more exercises for meaning and poetry to help balance you out and make sure you're covering all your bases. So I'm going to run through some examples of the sorts of exercises or steps you might go through to explore each of those essential elements. And I want you to get some ideas as we go along and also get a sense of, well, what am I already doing well? Be your own cheerleader as well as we go through this process. I am also your cheerleader. I am cheering you on because I know you can do it. And also, if you need more help with any of this, if you want to get a rough structure that you can work through, I've got a guide, Nailing Your Shakespeare Monologue, which you can get. And I tried to bring it to something fairly minimal, fairly clear, so you can go, this is a process I can work through. Now, of course, you can make it your own and you should make it your own. So let's run through those examples and you might go, I know what I can do. I remember that exercise from my drama teacher in grade 12 or whatever. Okay, here's some meaning exercises that you might do. Firstly, you might put it into your own words. This is actually so important. Please do put it into your own words. You really need to treat Shakespeare like another language, even if you're a native English speaker, and get really detailed on this. I'm going to cover this in my next video actually, because it's so important. You might also section the text up into units or beats, so you're getting a sense of what's going on in each section. How does the argument progress? So looking at that kind of progression of argument or dramatic arc or objective is also really useful too. You might look at turning points as well. When is something really important happening, like a piece of new information or a decision that they've made where they've maybe changed their mind or gone off on a tangent. That also happens in Shakespeare's monologues a lot. You might even look at identifying which particular word you need to stress or emphasize so the audience is getting what's going on. That's a really simple thing that you can do as well. Think about, are they going to get it? If I emphasize this word, will they get it? Good. You might do your usual kind of things like looking at the given circumstances, of course, reading the play or watching the play, listening to the play, so you're getting really familiar and doing your character work, that kind of thing. All of this stuff, by the way, it helps with meaning, but it also will help you with truthfulness because it will help you get connected. When you're clear, it's easier to connect. So that meaning side of things, it helps the audience, but it also helps you as an actor. So that's why that kind of script analysis stuff is so powerful. Here are some poetry exercises that you could do. You could be doing imagination work to connect to particular images, bring them to life. So when you're spouting off figurative language, metaphors, all that kind of thing, you actually feel alive and you're not just saying it. You could look at alliteration and assonance. That's a really quick win that can help you just make the most of what's there. That's basically repetitive sounds. Anytime he repeats a sound or a word, do something with that. You might do movement work to connect to the text, to get it kind of in the body. And that could be things like Laban, or it could be literally throwing a ball around, running up and down the hallway. That's what I do over there. That sort of thing. Really simple stuff, just getting in the body to bring the poetry into yourself. You might explore breath and phrasing and how that changes the emotion and how the poetry lands. And if you're a bit more advanced, you might look at Shakespeare's rhythms, what we call scansion, or you might have heard of iambic pentameter. That is not necessary to dig into unless you're a little bit more skilled. Do not panic about that. I have another video on that as well. I'll put that in the description. It basically says, don't panic about iambic pentameter. It is one tool among many. And here's some truthfulness exercises that you could do. You might already be doing some of these. Some of them will overlap with contemporary and some of them are more specific to Shakespeare. Something I often do with my students is to look at the blocks you might have around how you think Shakespeare should be performed. It needs to be beautiful. It needs to be poetic. That's going to shut you down real quick from being truthful because you're going to be so worried about doing something you think you should do. You might scale your performance to make it bigger or smaller for different venues or mediums, so you get used to kind of theater space performing versus self-tape performing. You might do some presence exercises to make sure you're not in your head with all the technical things. Personally, I love Eric Morris exercises. You might practice with a partner. Yes, even though it's a monologue, practice with a partner. It is such a game changer. It's such an easy thing to do. You might do somatic exercises to help you access emotion easily without pressing on trauma, especially when you're working with high stakes stuff we do in Shakespeare sometimes. Somebody's died, somebody killed someone. We're all gonna die. You might also redirect yourself to get yourself out of any patterns that you're stuck in, like doing it in a silly accent, doing it twice as fast, doing it while doing ballet, or pretending that you're on a beach, all those sorts of things. Yes, I do them. Yes, I make my students do them. It really does help because Shakespeare, it will lock you into patterns. Okay, so you've got some ideas of different exercises you can do for each element. And as I said, if you need it, there's the guide in the description, but I want you to reflect and let me know in the comments which one was your strongest area. Where are you already doing quite a lot? Might even be 2 areas. We usually each have one area that's the weakest. And if we just spend a little bit more time in that area, usually we start to bring everything into balance, and suddenly you're the one that rises above the crowd in the auditions because most people aren't looking at their kind of areas of development. So go you. So it does take a little bit of time, but I just want to remind you, it doesn't have to take forever. Honestly, I would set aside an hour or 2 hours to dig into that area that you're not so strong on, and you will come so far. Honestly, you really will. Now, of course, I don't want to give you just a big list of exercises and leave you hanging. I actually want to show you how to do some things. So I'm going to do that in the next video. I'm going to show you the 3 exercises I never skip when I prep my Shakespeare monologues, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do them. So I will see you in the next video.